Hey, what's up, everyone? Today I want to talk about how to stay positive in negative situations. We all have negative situations in our life that come up. Maybe we just lost a job. Maybe we just went through a hard breakup. Whatever it may be, we all experience these things, and it's really hard to have a positive mindset in these situations. We always kind of want to go into the dark and gloomy mindset because to be honest, it kind of feels better. And it's hard to have a positive mindset. We might know, or we might realize that it's better to keep our mind in a positive state, but just having that negative state, I don't know, for some reason it feels a lot better. But in the long run, all you're doing is just having self-pity and feeling sorry for yourself, and that's not going to get you anywhere, and that's only going to lead to depression. And so I think it's really important for you guys to realize how to stay positive in these negative events. And something that's helped me along my journey is when I'm in a negative event, how I respond to that event is going to determine my outcome. It's like my first video, E plus R equals O. Your response to an event is going to determine your outcome. So if you are in a negative space, if something bad just happened to you, how are you going to respond to that event? Are you going to respond positively or negatively? Because if you respond negatively, then you should expect a negative outcome. It's like when you like to have the self-pity, if you respond with self-pity to your event, then your outcome is going to be depression. But if you respond positively to your negative event, then your outcome is going to be more positive. So you need to start changing your perspective on these negative situations when they come up. Because if you can take a step back and try to respond without your emotions, then you will realize that you actually have control over the way that you respond. Don't be so reactive to these. And I kind of want to tell a short story on how you shouldn't respond based upon your emotions. Just recently, one of my coworkers, they had a talk with two of my managers, and basically it wasn't a good talk. And she was pretty fed up with how the talk went, and she just put in her 2 weeks right after that talk. They weren't firing her. They were basically disciplining her. And I can't say that I necessarily agree with what they had to say about her, but she reacted purely on emotion. It's just not a good response because now she lost her job. They weren't firing her. They weren't firing her. She wasn't going to lose her job, but she reacted instead of responding to her event. If she would have responded in a more positive manner, she could have took a step back from the situation and realized, this sucks what they just told me. And I personally may not agree with what they had to say, but I'm not going to let this affect me staying here and working. But we're all different, and so that's the way that happened. But you need to realize for you that when these hard events or situations come up, that you need to take a step back and realize, I need to make sure that I am not responding, or reacting is the right word. I'm not reacting with my emotion. I am responding with my intuition, with my logic. It all comes down to being present in the moment, because if you are thinking purely on your emotions, you're not in the present moment. You're not letting your intuition or your logic take over. You're letting your emotions take over, and your emotions aren't always the best guide when it comes to things like this. When you are upset, your emotions aren't always the best to follow, because it's like when you're upset and you have that feeling that you just want to eat a whole tub of ice cream. No, that is not the best way to go about things. If anything, you need to keep your diet still on point by eating lots of veggies, eating clean meats, or just eating clean overall. You need to still not let your self-indulgence on sweets or bad foods be determined upon your negative emotions. Something that kind of helps me take a step back from difficult situations is doing what really brings me peace, whether that's for you, maybe that's meditation, reading a book, exercising, going for a walk, whatever it may be. Do what makes you feel at peace. For me, that is meditating and basically working out. because I feel like those are my safe spaces, because I'm kind of out of tune with the world and I can just be in my own world. I can bring the attention to my inner self instead of my external things, and I can really kind of my brain just clears of all the fog, and I can make a better decision based upon logic than my emotions, when I can really calm myself and get to my happy place where I can think clearer. And so you really should be finding what makes you the most happy and go to those happy places when you are in difficult situations, because like I was saying earlier, if you're just letting your emotions, your self-pity dictate your next move, you're determining your reaction, then it's gonna lead to depression. You're not gonna go anywhere. You need to respond to these events and not react to them. You should also be realizing that everything is temporary, that this will pass, because if you keep the mindset of this is gonna be a forever thing, this is a permanent thing, then of course you're gonna be depressed, and of course it's gonna be hard to get out of that mindset. You need to realize that whatever is happening in your life, you're not always going to work at this job. That business isn't always going to be successful. You may not always be driving the same car, or whatever it is. You might not always have the same relationship with this person. Everything is temporary. And so if you really put that perspective on your negative situation, you're going to realize that you're going to be able to get through this hard time. It's going to be tough right now. But once you realize that you're going to make it, that you're going to be able to get through it, then you'll be responding positively to your event. And I kind of want to use like breaking both of my wrists as an example for that, because I realized having these casts on and having 2 broken wrists, it was only a temporary thing. Even though those 2 months were probably the longest 2 months of my life, or at least that's how they felt, I realized that one day I would be getting out of my cast, I would be able to play basketball again, I would be able to do everything on my own and not have to rely on everyone else to do things for me. And once I took that perspective on it, then that really changed my outcome. Because when I first broke my wrist, I will admit, I was kind of depressed because I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't do anything on my own. I couldn't play basketball, I couldn't feed myself, I couldn't clothe myself. I had to rely on my friends, strangers, my family to do basically everything for me. And so that was incredibly hard to accept, that I couldn't do anything without having someone to help me. And so that really grounded me and helped me realize that even though this sucks now, this isn't a permanent thing, and that this too shall pass. And I think that you need to realize that as well for yourself in your difficult situation. What I've also found that helps, and I think you would also agree with this too, is you need to talk to someone. Even if they can't really relate to what you're saying, you just need to get it off of your chest, because if you are keeping your emotions or your feelings bottled up inside of you, that's not good. That is not healthy for your mental state. You will start to not only be depressed, but that'll cause mood changes. Your whole life will feel awful if you do not talk to someone and get these emotions off of your chest. And for me, I've experienced this where I may get upset and I just have to rant to someone to just blow off the steam. And this also goes back to going to your happy place. If you can work out or play an instrument or whatever is best for you to blow off steam, that will be great for getting this negative event or whatever it is that you're going through off of your chest. And how I kind of mentioned in one of my previous videos of difficult situations for everyone to know, this past summer of this recording was the most difficult summer that I personally, and probably my family, has ever gone through. Back in June, my oldest dog had died, and then in July, my second dog, we had to put her down, and on the same day, my grandpa died. And then 3 days later from that day, we were evacuated from our home because a huge fire had swept through my town. Thankfully, our house is still here, but most of our neighbors and basically all the trees surrounding our home is gone. And so at the time of this recording, there's tons of debris removal and ton of rubble removal going on. All of our neighbors having big bulldozers and dump trucks come by and just clear my neighborhood basically, because all of these homes had been destroyed and we were displaced from the fire for like 3 weeks. And so we couldn't even go home for the longest time. We lost our trailer in the fire, and we're so fortunate to have our home. But those 2 months were like the worst months of our life, the worst summer of our life. And all the trauma that we had gone through, I actually started to develop like anxiety problems. And I've never had anxiety problems, but after we put our dog down in July and after my grandpa died, I started having like anxiety attacks, and I've never experienced that before. But I would be like sitting down and eating, and something would trigger something that would scare my body, and I would start to feel lightheaded, and I would start to just feel like I was gonna die. And I've never experienced these symptoms before. And it was just so fast. And like I said, the hardest time of my life. But how I responded to all of these negative or difficult situations was I realized I reacted initially to where I was upset, and I just was in disbelief of everything that was going on in my life. But I realized that I needed to respond in a positive way, because if I didn't, I would be super depressed. My anxiety problems would be, off the charts. It would be uncontrollable. And I realized that I needed to take a step back and stop reacting with my emotions and start responding with my intuition and my logic. I feel like you guys will really resonate with what I'm saying here. I think you should start applying this, where you can take a step back for just a brief second and realize maybe there's a better way to responding to this event, and not reacting to it, but responding to it. This has really helped me in difficult situations like I just mentioned this past summer. I think it'll really help you guys. So this is all I have for you today. If you have any questions or would like me to talk about anything specific, ask me on Instagram at Shawn Sewell-Snyder. I will try to respond to just about everyone. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate you guys. If you would please subscribe, like, and leave a comment, I would really, really appreciate it. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.